going to use in design of slabs. So all slabs we are going to consider over here. We are going to consider simply supported, then cantilever, one-way continuous, and two-way slabs. Now we have classification of slabs. So based on the shape, based on the support condition, and based on the spanning direction. So based on the shape, we can have different rectangular, then we have circular, square. We can cast any required shape of the slab. Then depending upon the support conditions, we have three types. One we have that is simply supported, second we have cantilever, and third we have continuous. Then the classification based on the spanning direction, we have two one-way slabs, and then we have second two-way slabs. One-way slabs we are going to say when we have Ly by Lx greater than or equal to 2. What happened in this case when Ly greater than 2 times of Lx, then we have bending only along shorter direction, and therefore we are going to provide main reinforcement that is along shorter direction, and along longer direction we are going to provide distribution reinforcement, or we can say that is secondary reinforcement, which is for your shrinkage, for your temperature stresses. You can see this is simply supported slab. We have this is cantilever. So we have cantilever slab that is beyond this beam. So we can say we have this as cantilever slab from this to this. And then we have continuous slab. So we have this as one-way slabs, we are going to say. Then we have two-way slabs. When Ly Lx is 2, in that case, we have bending along both directions. So we can say saucer type bending we are going to get. And therefore, we have to provide main reinforcement along both X and as well as along Y direction. Here we have two types in two-way slabs. One that is simply supported slabs, and second we have restrained slabs. Now these simply supported and restrained we are going to classify depending upon your conditions, that is casting of the slabs with the supports. So if we do not have monolithic casting, then we have that is corners allowed to lift up. And when we are allowing corners to lift up, that means no stresses, no torsional be developed. So automatically no stresses, and then we need not require any torsional reinforcement in case of simply supported slabs. But when we will say restrained, then we have monolithic construction of slabs with supports, that is beams. And in that case, corners cannot lift up, or I can say corners restrained or corners held down, which will develop torsional moment. And to resist that torsional moment, we have to provide torsional reinforcement. Now you can see for two-way slabs, and that is restrained slabs, we have total 9 conditions. In IS 456, the second condition was given one short edge continuous, but it should be discontinuous. Then we have types of restrained slab. Just we have seen. So that just I will show you here. So this portion, this shows you have discontinuity, and this shows we have continuous. So we have these total 9 types, and we have to design. We have problem from any of these types. Then steps to be followed in the design of slabs. So first we have effective span, trial depth, then we have load calculations, then design moments, then check depth from bending moment consideration, main steel reinforcement, then we have check for deflection, then check for shear, and check for development length. Actually, we need not require to go for these steps in case of slabs, because these 2 checks always in, or I can say most of the cases, these 2 checks are satisfied in slabs, and mostly we have steps till 7 only. Now effective span, how we will find effective span? So we have clauses given on page number 34, and the clause number we have 22.2. So this is 22.2 for simply supported beam or slabs. Then this is for continuous beam or slabs, and this is cantilever, and that is on page number 35. So now I have written these clauses in short over here. So we have simply supported beam or slab. For beam and slab, we have same criteria: clear span plus the effective depth. This is our first criteria. Or we have center to center distance of support. But important, we have to take whichever is less, that will be considered as span of the slab. Then continuous beam or slab, here we have two categories. One, when and that categories are related with your width of the support. If that width of the support you can see here, that is less than 1/12 of the clear span, then we have to use, that is part A, whichever we have clear span plus the effective depth or center to center distance, and lesser we have to consider effective span. But if we have support wider than 1/12 of the clear span or 600 mm, whichever is less, then in that case, for end span with one end fixed and the other continuous, or any intermediate span, the effective span shall be the clear span between the supports. Then for end span with one end free and other continuous, that means we can have this as cantilever, one end continuous, other free, and then we have clear span plus half the effective depth, or clear span plus half the width of the discontinuous support, and we have to take minimum of the two. Then in case of cantilever, we have the effective length of a cantilever shall be taken as the length to the face of the support plus half the effective depth if the end is continuous. So just we have seen this clear span plus half the effective depth, that for a end continuous, and the length to the center of support shall be taken if we have that end as continuous. If the end is continuous, and the length we can have, we can see this clause we have over here. So if the end of a continuous beam shall be taken its length to the face of the support plus half the effective depth, except where it forms the end of a continuous beam where the length to the center of the support shall be taken. Means we have general to the face plus half the effective depth, but if we have continuous end, then we have to take it length to the center of support shall be taken. Then the second criteria, we have trial depth, and that we have to go from page number 37, clause number 23.2. And we have these criterias which are based on your type of slab, cantilever, simply supported, and continuous. So these values are for spans up to 10 meter. If my span is greater than 10 meter, then these values will be multiplied by 10 by span in meters. Now, if we have depending on the area and the stress of steel tension reinforcement, we have to multiply this value by modification factor, and that modification factor we have to take from figure 4, which depends upon the percentage reinforcement. If we have compression reinforcement, then we have to go clause number figure number 5, and from that we have to take modification factor. So for slabs, we have to take, that is C only, we have to multiply it by modification factor due to tension reinforcement. So we have this, we have just seen, so we have basic value of span to effective depth ratios. So we have span to effective depth, basic values of span to effective depth into modification factor, and just I mentioned this modification factor we have to take from figure 4. So we have FS 290, this is for FY 500, because we have to multiply, you can see this FS is 0.58 into FY, and we are going to assume, because now we have not provided this reinforcement, so we will take this value as 1, and by taking this value 1, we are going to get it as 0.58 into Fy. So for Fy 500 we have this curve, Fs 290, for Fy 415 we have 240, and for 250 we have 145, and likewise we have to use this curve to determine the modification factor, and this we have percentage of reinforcement. Now we have this 7 into modification factor, just we have seen for cantilever, for simply supported 20 into modification factor, and for continuous 26 into modification factor. Just I mentioned, if you have compression reinforcement, we have to take modification factor from figure 5 also. Now what value we have to consider for this modification factor, because in second steps we do not have steel provided and we do not know percentage of reinforcement there, and therefore we will take this value for a Fe 250 1.5 to 1.6. So we are assuming percentage reinforcement 0.7 to 1%. For Fe 415 and 500, we are going to consider these 0.2 to 0.45%, and modification factors we are generally 1.3 to 1.4. Then we have third step, load calculations. Width we have to always take as 1 meter. So we have cell plate plus floor finish, so 25D plus floor finish. And D we have to take depth of slab in meters, because 25, this is unit weight of concrete, that is in kilonewton per meter cube. Then live load, that is generally given. Then we have total load, dead load plus live load, and then ultimate load 1.5 into total load. Now design moment. So we have these as one-way slabs. So if we have one-way simply supported, then WL square by 8. If we have one-way cantilever slabs, then we have WL square by 2. Now we can have these continuous slabs, and we can use for continuous slabs coefficients given in table number 12 and 13. You can see over here. So these coefficients in table 12 are given for bending moment, and in table 13 we have given that is for your shear. So now when we can use these coefficients to determine the bending moment and shear, so you can see this, unless more exact estimates are made for beams of uniform cross section, we support substantially uniformly distributed load over three or more spans. So first criteria, we should have minimum 3 or more than 3 spans, which do not differ by more than 15% of the longest. We should be very careful. Shorter should not be less than 0.85 into longer span. The bending moment and shear force design may be obtained using these tables. Now for moments at supports where two unequal spans meet, or in case where the spans are not equally loaded, the average of the two values for the negative moment should be taken. If here you can see where coefficients are given in 12 are used for calculations of bending moment, redistribution referred shall not be permitted. So redistribution is not allowed if we are going to consider this way. So we have this formula alpha d w u d l square plus alpha l w l square, and you can see we have these values, that is table 12 which is for your bending moment, and table 13 we have for shear coefficients. Then design moments for two-way slabs, we have to use this formula for simply supported also and restrained also. Values for restraint, that is alpha x and alpha y, these are given in table 26. Then we have simply supported, and for simply supported, these values of alpha x and alpha y that are given in table number 27. We have this table 27. So 26 we will see in the next slide. So you can see over here that values alpha x, these values depends upon your Ly by Lx ratio, Ly by Lx ratio. And by this we are going to find the value of alpha x, and we are going to find out alpha y. This alpha y value we have directly given here, that is depending upon your Ly by Lx ratio. So now if we will go to restraint slab, you can see for alpha y we have Ly by Lx is not given directly, alpha y value is given, which is for all Ly by Lx. But for short span coefficient alpha x, that depends upon Ly by Lx, and we have to interpolate if we have values between these two. Then check depth from bending moment consideration. This already we have seen in unit number 1, where we have sections design, and as we are considering width of slab 1 meter and Ru max, we can find by using this formula. Then reinforcement. So maximum diameter we can consider as capital D by 8 in slabs, which is given in page number 48. Now for one-way slabs, we have along x direction main reinforcement, and we have to use this formula to calculate this value of the reinforcement. Along y direction we have distribution reinforcement, secondary reinforcement, which will be minimum. Now when we will calculate this, so if I will mention this as ASTX, this value should not be less than AST minimum. Means it should be greater than or equal to AST minimum. If it is less, then we have to provide AST minimum. So minimum reinforcement, and that is given in clause 26.5.2.1. We have these values for HYSD 0.12% BD. So here we have capital D. So total. So if you will see this criteria here, they have clearly mentioned that total cross-sectional area, and therefore we have to take it as capital D. And for mild we have 0.15%, and this we have to provide along y direction. Now if we will go to two-way slabs, in two-way slabs we have along both direction main reinforcement we have to provide, and we have to check it with minimum again. Then spacing we have to use 1000 AST upon capital AST. Small AST is area of single bar used for reinforcement, and capital AST we have for area of reinforcement required. Now here you can see, and always this spacing whatever we will get from this formula, we have to provide less than this, so that AST provided will be greater than AST required. Now that spacing criteria is given for main reinforcement, we have 300 mm or 3 times the effective depth, and here we have that is 5 times the effective depth, or we can have 450 millimeter. Then check for deflection. This is simple one, percentage PT we have to find. So here we have to keep in mind, we have to take AST provided, and from this percentage we have to take modification factor from table 4, and then we have to check these criteria for cantilever, simply supported and continuous. Then we have check for shear. Now critical shear, here you can see which is less than D from the base of the support. So you can see these diagrams. So for maximum shear force is calculated, just we have seen these clauses. So we have these clauses for simply supported and cantilever. So we have to find value at this D from face of the support. For continuous slabs, we have these coefficients given, and we have to find shear force coefficient into total ultimate load, that is factorial load, and these coefficients are given in table number 13. And then we have to calculate shear, which will be K tau CBD. Now K we have to take from table clause number 40.2.1, page number 72, which depends upon your depth of the slabs. And tau C we have to calculate from table 19, page 73. And now knowing all these values, we have to see VUC greater than VU max. Then shear reinforcement is not required. Check for development length, that is given in 26.2.1 LD. This is your development length, 5 sigma s upon 4 tau BD. 5 we have diameter of the first sigma s. In this we have to take 0.87 Fy, and tau BD, that is design bond stress, and that is given in 26.2.1.1. That depends upon the grade of concrete. For deform bar, we have to increase this value, so it is given this, that is by 60%, and for compression we have to increase for 25%. Then at simple supports and at point of inflection, we have to use this, and our value of LD calculated does not exceed this value M1 by V plus L naught. Now you can see the value of M1 by V, the above expression may increase by 30%. So we are generally using it as 1.3 because we have compression over there, plus L naught. And L naught that is given over here, that is sum of anchorage beyond the center of the support and the equivalent anchorage value of any hook or mechanical anchorage at simple support. And at a point of inflection, L naught is limited to the effective depth or members or 12 pi, whichever is greater. When for continuous or for curtailment, we have to take it as depth of member, or we have to take 12 pi, whichever is greater. So here this is clearly mentioned. So for curtailment, reinforcement shall extend beyond the point at which it is no longer required, and that is given 12 times the bar diameter or effective depth. Just we have seen over there, and that we have to provide. And for positive moment, just we have seen this. And M1, we have to take whatever AST available at support, or directly we can take 50% we are going to curtail. So we can take it as MU upon 2. And this we have just seen. When we have continuous, we have this value 12D or 12 phi or effective depth, whichever is greater, we have to say, whichever is greater. So in this way, we have to go for this development length. This already we have seen. Now here important bends and hook you can see. So the anchorage value of bend shall be taken as 4 times the diameter of the bar, and maximum 16 times the diameter of the bar. So U type we have actually 180-degree angle, and therefore we are going to take this value, that is 16 times the diameter of the bar. So now you can see over here, this is given in IS 2502, and here they have mentioned this value for mild steel, that is taken as 2 in the case of mild steel, but we have that is cold work steel conforming, and that value we have to take as 4. So this K, which we are going to mention as R, so this value we are going to take it as 4, because generally we have Tor steel. Now you can see over here, so if I will take it as 90-degree bend, then we have to find the value that is from center of the support. And then we have this, you can see now here, so we have this value x2, this is from center of the support, bs by 2. So x2, then we have this as k1 plus k plus 1 into 5, and this is r actually we are going to consider, and that value we have 4 when we will talk about torsion reinforcement. Then HA is 4-5 for each 45-degree. So we have not this 450. So we have this 45-degree bend subject to a maximum of 16.5 that already we have seen. Now L0 we have to calculate. So we have L0 is x2 plus HA, and this x2 we are going to find out, which is BS by 2. So that is from center, minus we have this x1 which is cover, and minus this value which is k plus 1. So k we have 4, so 4 5 plus 1 5 plus 8 5, that 8 5 we are going to consider because we have 90-degree bend, and we have 4 5 into 2, so that will be 8 5. So we are going to get L0 BS by 2 minus x1 plus 3 5 for L type. And if we will go for U type, then we have this value, that is BS by 2 minus x1 plus L15. X1 we have cover. Generally, this value is taken as 25 millimeter or 25, whichever is greater. And so we have to check the development length check by using LD should be less than or equal to 1.3 M1 by V plus L0. So these are the steps which we have to follow in case of your slabs. So next part we will see in next lecture. So thank you. Good night.